So, hi everyone. My name's Brianna Malotke, and I'm the co-chair for the Seattle chapter of the Horror Writers Association. And today we are talking with the team behind the Hallow Ian Horror Hour. If you guys want to take turns introducing
Sure.
yourselves.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is E.E. Talent. I am the executive producer of the Hallow Ian Horror Hour, and the show is based on characters that I created. I'm Sam Mostovoy. I'm the other half of Tapped House TV with Ian, and one of the co-hosts of the show.
Yeah. So, first off, how did the show get started?
Yeah. So the Hallow Ian Horror Hour came about after Sam and I had been working on a few different short films together. We kind of got into uh horror short films after doing a lot of gaming stuff from 2017 until about 2021. And then we wanted to move from kind of that more free form thing that we were doing and work with an actual constructed script. So we did two horror short films. And then we were approached by the people at SCCTV, that's Seattle College Cable Television, Channel 28 in Seattle. And they asked if they could show our short films. And I said, hey, that's a great idea. But I also know all of these other amazing filmmakers in the Seattle area, in the Pacific Northwest, and we don't currently have a horror host in the Pacific Northwest. What if we had a horror host and we showed and more of like an anthology series rather than your traditional Svengoolie or Elvira style, where we would show like they would show like a long form movie, usually of the old Universal variety or the Roger Corman rest in peace variety, and kind of do interstitials or wraparounds. We would show all of these locally made short films and then come out and do a variety of vignettes. Um, so that spiraled into kind of a year-long project where we ultimately ended up filming all of our vignettes in one session in July of last year, That was and a that day. was season one of the Horror Hour. And we had, it was 12 horror shorts, a number of music videos, and it became 4 episodes, and it was just an absolute blast. Do you have anything to add about the origin there, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, I remember a lot of conversations with Ian where he was kind of saying, we know all these filmmakers. It'd be really cool to showcase these somehow. There's plenty of festivals, and we don't want to, step on anyone's toes. And there's plenty of great festivals that show local films throughout horror and a lot of
Crypticon, yeah.
exactly. I mean, fantastic ones, right? And so we kind of wanted to do something different, and getting in front of the camera wasn't necessarily our plan A,
Right.
being our own characters, but all in all, it's been a blast so far. It's especially from the origin and the inception, and being able to kind of pitch this to our friends and other filmmakers we've worked with into something that it's been created right now has been really cool to see.
Yeah, and so you both wear a lot of hats within working on the show, from playing your characters to writing and producing all of that. What is each of your favorite part of the whole process? Is it going through submissions? Is it being your characters and doing the performing, the acting, or do you prefer to be behind the camera? So, what
Hmm.
would you think if you had to pick today? Obviously, you could
I,
change, but
I'll probably go with a couple, but I think my
okay,
number
yeah.
one is just being on set, like being on set in general,
Hmm.
being able to create something with people. There's like a lot of magic that happens when you're on set because, a writer can get something onto a page and they can explain it really well and they can explain their vision, and that's awesome. And I think the writing process is great. That's one of the things we do, right? But
Hmm.
when you get either behind a camera or I guess in front of it, for this case, being able to work with other people and collaborate to make something together is like you see a lot of the humanness in the art itself, and it's really awesome. You get closer to these people day after day, time after time. So I
Yeah.
really like that process.
Yeah, and I will like preface that I'm probably going to get a little bit wooey here. You can probably see a bunch of the witch stuff I got in the background there, but it really is the community. It's the community that comes together. It's the community around horror. It's the community around creativity. It's the community around that shows up. We have like 30 plus people that show up to volunteer their time to put the stuff together that is just the interstitials between the short films that we're showcasing, just to
Yeah.
like highlight and really uplift those short films. I come from a background of collective storytelling, is what I like to call it. A lot of other people call it tabletop role playing, but it really is like getting together and creating a story, and everybody has their own part in this process. And so everybody is bringing their skill or their ability or their responsibility to this ritual that ends up creating something that comes out in the end that is a story that shares a message with people, even if that message is just getting them to laugh or scream or be grossed out. Like, it is eliciting emotion from people, which is it's evocation. It's amazing, and it can only be done by all of these people coming together. So
A lot of wonderful people.
that's absolutely my favorite part of the entire
Mm.
process in like a very broad scope. But I also like, when it comes to the show specifically, I really like watching all the submissions. I've watched, I want to say, in the range of like 200 short films and music videos since we started taking submissions for season 2.
You said 3 or 400.
I want to say about 2 right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Conservative end of things.
That's still, I
But
mean, geez.
but there's a lot of people that are out there making things. And there's a range and spectrum of the things that I get to see. And I have a lot of different feelings and critiques about these things. But the thing is that people are out there making stuff, and there are a
Mhm.
lot of people that are confined by this completion anxiety. Like, they just have the fear of completing something, and these people have gotten over that. They have come together
Yeah.
and they've actually put something out into the world, and then people can judge that, but they're on to making the next thing already. And
Yep.
that is absolutely wonderful, and nobody can take that from
Yeah. Well, great answers. I know, like, my background is in costume design. And so,
Mhm.
the whole time working on stuff, being by myself, doing fittings gets a little frustrating. But the moment you're there for dress rehearsals and you're with everyone else that's been a part of it, it's
Yeah.
always the best feeling, right? The community that's there. So I definitely understand that. And so you guys do offer quite a variety of forms of horror on the show. I know you've just mentioned, short films, music videos, you do readings. Thinking about all these different forms, what's something in the world of horror that you wish you were seeing a little bit more of? Maybe it's a specific story plot or, more creatures, different formats. What are your thoughts on that?
Hmm.
What are you wanting out of horror at the
You know,
moment, I suppose?
yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there already. I personally am someone who leans more comedy horror, but we're already seeing great comedy horror, especially recently, and especially upcoming
I
soon
feel
with,
like there's been an uptick, right?
yeah,
Comedy
and
horror.
in horror in general. So because there's been more people who've been a part of it, you're seeing a lot more, right? I always like comedy in my horror. I think they have a lot of the same beats. I am more a student of comedy than I am a student of horror. Ian is definitely, I would say, the professor of horror in this relationship, which has been great. But I think, man, it's hard to say that like I want anything specific. I think I would say the only other thing is just more. Like bring what you have, bring what you think is scary. I think personally, I like a lot of psychological horror and almost like misrepresentations of what's happening in reality to someone who's experiencing very real things. So I have some stories that I'm trying to write that are kind of based in that reality
Okay.
of reality of things that might be happening, but you don't actually know what's going on.
Yeah. No, and I think, to Sam's point there, comedy and horror are two sides of the same coin. Like, it
Yeah.
comes to that buildup of tension or suspense, and then the cathartic release. So it has a lot to do with timing, it has a lot to do with the setup, and then the punchline, whether you're trying to elicit a jump, scream, or a laugh. Um, when it comes to me with like what I think horror is such a broad umbrella, right? Horror can encompass your very like psychological, like things that are saying something about society. You have like, your Hereditary, your like Babadook, like Wicker Man, like very intelligent kind of like things on one end of the spectrum. And then on the other side, you have your Don't Hike in the Woods Alone, and there's just such a broad range of things that are happening there. And so many people are putting out like horror is so good right now. Horror is selling in the cinema. It's the only thing besides comic book movies, and it's actually outperforming comic book movies at this point. So it is keeping the theater alive. It's keeping that community experience of going to the theater alive. Um, and it just encompasses so many things. Like if you look at the history of horror, like starting with like your Draculas and your Universal monsters, and then you have your like science fiction, and but really it's always just expressing like the trauma or stresses on society. So it's always evolving. So I think horror just continually adapts to that. And then within that you have your scary movies, you have your psychological thrillers, you have like a whole range of things. So I think I don't think there's anything missing or that I want more of, but I mean a good werewolf movie. But
So there is something.
So
yeah,
write it.
there is a little less werewolf, but I understand because I've tried to write werewolf stuff and it's just trickier. Like I get it. When you have like vampires and similar things that tell the story in a more effective way in some ways. But I think the only thing I want from horror is for people to keep creating it and people to keep enjoying it. And I think that that has to happen. Like, as long as we are telling stories, we are going to be telling stories that are a reflection of the trauma and stresses of society. And that will just keep happening. So, if anything, just tell your story, tell what's happening to you, and make your voice heard within the horror community.
Mhm.
Nice. So with all that in mind, I know you guys have had submissions. Are you still open to accepting submissions?
Mhm.
Okay. And so what's that process like? Can you just explain a little bit about how people could get you their horror stuff?
Yeah, send it to me at Hallow Ian Horror Hour at gmail.com. That's HALLOWHORROR. Wait, no, I already messed up.
Yeah.
I can type it out
Yeah,
for everyone. I'll put it
Yeah.
in the post.
I'm not gonna be.
Hallow Ian
Yeah.
Horror Hour at
Yeah,
Gmail.
it's like
Okay.
Halloween Horror Hour, but instead of EEN, it's IAN.
Yes.
And that link is on all of our places. So if you check us out there, I do like a monthly submission posting. We do not have any submission fees right now. We've been keeping this open, and we'll talk about our crowdfunding and how we've been able to keep this free for people submitting a little bit later. But we will accept everything, and I watch everything. And we're not looking for anything in particular, but there are a few like things that like I will go through on a first watch and just kind of scrub through stuff and be like, what's the quality of the cinematography? Like, is because we're on TV, we can't have the 7 swear words the FCC doesn't allow. We can't
Mhm.
have nudity or like any like highly sexual content. Our specific TV channel does not like guns, so we can't have guns that on the show that air on cable TV in Seattle. We do have some bluer episodes that we do as just like web only episodes where we can show more of that stuff. But so we have to comply by those rules when we are going through our submission process. Um,
And a reminder that we only have an hour per episode, right? Right now we
Right.
only have 4 episodes, so we can't show, unfortunately, even though we see some great, even like 20 to 40-minute films, that's too much real estate, right? So
Right.
consider that when submitting, especially if folks have uh for short films, if they have a film festival version, that's kind of a shorter cut. That's helpful. And finally, because of some requirements for some of the places that we upload credits, can't necessarily roll at the end of the actual segment, so we just put those at the end.
Yeah.
But sometimes those are an important part of the story. So
Right.
But yeah, so like some really important things I do look for in the submission process are like the communication from the person that is submitting it, because I have to go back and forth with them a lot. And if you are taking a long time to get back to me, there are a bunch of other people that are trying to get on the show. We have 4 episodes. 10 to 15 minutes is really the sweet spot, but we love micro shorts. They fill in spots too. Um, and how original is it? Do you have dialogue? Is the editing good? Like these kinds of things do come into account. We try to get everything on the show, and if something doesn't fit within our 4 episodes that come out on TV, we will try to find a web episode for it in the future. Um, but yeah, I think those are all kind of the good rules. Yeah, if you've got like a post-credit scene or you've got scenes that happen during your credits, we might ask you to edit. If you've got swear words that can be edited to be TV safe, you can edit those. We have plenty of folks that have done the TV edit thing, and it's actually a lot of fun for some folks to take it when somebody says obviously something very profane with their mouth and turn it into like gosh darn it or dang it or something. That's
Yeah.
hilarious. That's just
the adding the syllables always kills, you know.
yeah.
Yes.
Like the TV edit of The Big Lebowski when John Goodman's smashing the car and he's like, "This is what happens when you meet a stranger in the Alps." Like,
Yeah.
Uh,
So knowing, I guess, how much you have to go through submission wise, how do you go about organizing the episodes? Is it something you're just constantly thinking about as you go through submissions? Is there a general kind of layout that you've have found works from season one that you're hoping to kind of translate into season two? What does
yeah.
that kind of process look like?
So I do the majority of that. As Sam said, I am kind of a scholar when it comes to the horror and Halloween stuff, or at least a very well studied student. Um, and so I try to find these themes that you may not catch unless you are a super horror fan or are paying very close attention to an episode. So, like in season one, we had an episode called Technology's Coming for You, Barbara, which is a reference to Night of the Living Dead, but also talks about like horror and tech. And we open the episode with kind of a romantic comedy about two characters with TVs for heads that can only use 1950s commercials dialogue to communicate with each other, and we close the episode with Gary, a story about a smart home device that kind of takes over a home and is very threatening to the person that has just purchased this new home. So I try to piece those kinds of things together. In season two, we had a little bit more preparation, and I've definitely been thinking about like a storyline for. So you mentioned Sam and I play characters. I play
Hmm.
Hallow Ian. He plays Sam Myers, which also deep reference stuff. And then we have a group of characters known as the Graveyard Gang, which includes some other zombies and ghosts and a witch and a magic mirror and that kind of stuff. And so for season two, we have more of a plot. They're kind of contained within episodes, but there is
mhm.
like an overarching story that is happening. And then within those episodes, we've tried to find films that are closely related to the themes that are happening in that episode. Um, so we've got like an episode where we're all kind of dressed up a little bit fancier and we're telling stories. And that episode's gonna have more short films that are related to like dinner scenes or fancy dress parties or that kind of thing, which happens to be a very popular subgenre of horror in the last decade. Um, or like our last episode has like a found footage WNUF Ghost Watch kind of vibe, if you're familiar with those films. Also Late Night with the Devil recently did something very similar in that kind of vein of like this is live TV, and so there's going to be more like focus on found footage and like seances and stuff that are happening in that episode. But we are getting submissions from all over the place, and I just try to fit like the timing together, the pacing together, I try to sandwich the scariest or most graphic or intense films between sillier moments that are happening in the episode.
Mhm.
And it's really just finding a balance between all of these different things. And I kind of take the lead on that. And then if there are questions that come up when we get down the road in the editing process, I'm open to feedback from the people that help me do the editing. But I usually have a pretty clear goal by the time I say, here's what our episodes are going to look like.
I
Okay.
mean, season two is definitely planned out. Let's be honest. There was a little bit of throwing some things at the wall and seeing where they land for season one, Ian. It
Yeah.
was our first season. But I big props to Ian for, I mean, even organizing them in the way that they are. And yeah, the first season was definitely a passion project, and this is growing into something more than that. So now we get to actually put even more thought into it, which feels really good.
And to like conclude on that, we do have a summer episode that is going to be just like erotic thrillers and things around romance. We're calling it the summer horror romance episode, which is going to be
I
very
love
tricky
it.
to say. Yeah, that's kind of your genre.
That's
And
like I write both romance and horror, and someone's been like, "Oh, like you write horror?" And I'm like, "Clever."
And then we are also working on a holiday special. It'll be mostly focused on Christmas, just because we have a kind of a Christmas themed movie, but we're gonna tie in some folklore. We also do like historical things. We did like some video essays on the history of Halloween in season one, and
Mhm.
so I really like tying those kinds of real world mythology and spooky stories we've been telling for centuries to each other into the program as well.
Yeah, well, you've kind of explained a little bit about what we can expect from season two, but is there anything else you'd want to say at this point about season two, or really just everyone should still submit their work?
I mean, definitely keep submitting. It's always great to see new art and people creating things, as Ian has alluded to earlier. I mean, get out there and make it, finish it,
Yeah.
send it in, even if it's something that you're like, you know what, this wasn't my best thing, but I learned from it and I'm moving on. That's what people can expect from us in our season two, is things we've learned. A lot more scary shorts and scary content. I mean, a lot of laughs in between. You'll see the Graveyard Gang, like Ian said, in like new locations, and shorts now from around the world, and still, of course, with the focus on the Pacific Northwest, and some of our own in-house made content, which feels really good, right? Being able to put stuff up there that we can say, we're also contributing more than just kind of the slapstick that we contribute every single episode. But and to Ian's point that of incorporating a lot of the past mythology and past history into the content you're seeing, you'll see a lot more of that on season two.
Nice.
I think the big thing I'm excited about in season two is that there are recurring episodic
Mhm.
things that are going to be happening with the Graveyard Gang and some other stories. So
Yeah.
we've got there was an infomercial in season one that just blew up on our YouTube channel. It was selling a casket that was made for cats to sit in, a catsket, which I actually built, and my cats finally do love. They sit downstairs now. They're going to be really sad when I take it apart to do some puppetry.
Oh,
But Kitchen Witch, who was selling the Catsgate, is coming back for a cooking segment. There will be 4 cooking segments across the 4 episodes. There's going to be some really fun stop motion stuff that you could probably catch some BTS of if you are in the Hallow Ian Horror Hour Facebook group. Um, We've got a historical piece that is going to go across all 4 episodes, and these are things you're going to have to tune into every episode to follow up and figure out what the
Get the full
conclusion.
experience,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those are in addition to all of the shorts, all of the vignettes and skits, and we have story arcs for each of the Graveyard Gang. It's just that is expanded so much, and
Mhm.
that was based off feedback we got in season one, and it's quite literally going to blow some heads.
I'm excited for those. I mean, it and a lot of things that you'll see in season two that you haven't seen in season one, which, by the way, if you haven't seen, is on our YouTube page. including a lot of that BTS that Ian mentioned is on our Facebook page. Like, it's all free, it's all up there. Please check it out. It's a lot of passion, a lot of fun to make that stuff.
Yeah. So lastly, you guys have a current fundraiser on Indiegogo right now. Can you just
Mhm.
share a little bit of the details and, if someone's unable to donate there, what else can they do to support you guys and season 2 and seeing more of this show?
Yeah. So the crowdfunding campaign, as of right now, we've just been continuing to raise funds, and it's been absolutely amazing to see all the support we got. In the first 12 hours, we raised nearly half of the funds. So it's going on for another 24 days at this point, at the time of recording.
Okay.
And we're gonna run that until June 7th. So definitely go over there and check that out. You'll be able to find the links all the places, I'm sure. We have so many cool perks, from stickers to shirts, posters, producer credits if you want to like have your name in the credits and be on the IMDb. We have really awesome advertising opportunities. So if you have a project that you would like to have advertised on the program, you can sign up at that level and you'll be listed as a partner on our website, listed as a partner in the credits, be shouted out on our social media. And you can even run up to a 30-second ad or have some sort of product placement in the program, if you have those things available. And we'll be reaching out to folks to talk about how to make that work for everybody. We even do have a level where you can sign up to be a walk-on character with a line that we will write for you, and you can become an official member of the Graveyard Gang. So go over to Indiegogo and check out all those perks. There's also just a ton of fun content there, and we're doing all sorts of fun updates. And you could even just buy a coffee for one of the crew members. That's greatly appreciated. Shows support for the show, and would be absolutely fantastic.
Coffee helps on set. I promise you, it runs production. So
Yeah, absolutely. Because we go 12 hours a day a lot of the time.
Yep.
Um, and if you're not able to contribute, which a lot of folks aren't, you can share the Indiegogo with folks. You can subscribe to the YouTube page. That's probably the biggest one. We're very close to, hitting those magical numbers for the algorithm. So if you just go to youtube.com/@ Hallow Ian Horror Hour, make sure again that that's linked all the places, and just hit that subscribe button, hit like on videos, comment on stuff, tell us what your favorite skit is or who your favorite Graveyard Gang member is, and that would be absolutely fantastic. Sam, you have other social stuff?
Yeah, I mean, everyone can find us at taptousTV.com. That's our website where they can find a lot more of the projects that we work on. At Taptouse on Instagram, just at Taptouse. This is all for our production company that is putting together Hallow Ian Horror Hour with a bunch of other production companies that are independent filmmakers. So a lot of the projects that you can see that sometimes we work on with other people are going to be shouted out in those locations. And our Instagram is where we like to post a lot of BTS that you probably don't get to see in other places. Things that happen on set that are funny or cool or scary that might not make it to the show, but you actually get to see if you're checking it out. So please come check us out and know that we're ready to show you laughs and scares.
Yeah, and actually, Brianna and I actually met on the Slasher app.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Slasher. Let's
It's a
go.
thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's the social media just for horror fans. It's
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's kind of like shouting into the void, but I did meet there, so that was absolutely fantastic. You can find Hallow Ian and Sam there.
Mhm.
The characters have their own profiles, and then Sam and I are both wearing these awesome shirts. I've got the Hallow Ian Horror Hour one that's got the big gradient logo on the back. And Sam's wearing one of our production company shirts. That's an ancient logo
Oh,
from,
it's OG, if you
yeah,
will.
that's from the before times. Find those on our bonfire store, and actually the shirts are very high quality. I've
Mhm.
started just
Okay.
like buying a ton of their shirts, and
Yeah.
I hope that they continue to offer more styles. I think they just added tie-dye stuff, so we're probably gonna have some tie-dye Halloween
Ooh.
shirts.
Okay.
Uh, and yeah,
Sounds like
so
the perfect summer combo, like
Oh
horror
yeah.
t-shirts that are tie-dye.
Yeah.
exactly,
Yep.
exactly. So
They're
yeah,
really fun. Like for the wintertime, they got crew neck sweatshirts. Summertime, they got t-shirts. And to Ian's point, like I've watched this plenty of times. The printing stays on like crazy. So
Oh, nice.
we try and keep like the pricing is like as low as possible. So we're not like making money. We just want you folks to have, you know, access to gear, access to stuff that's fun with our weird, creepy faces on it.
Just go rep the stuff. That would be
Yeah.
and then there was one more thing I just thought of that I'm going to blank on now. Okay. No, there's a Facebook group. Come join the Hallow Ian Horror Hour Facebook group. Then you can, talk to all of us, share your projects with us. We've got lots of folks that are sharing the things they're doing. We're always updating the things that we're doing there. And we're happy to have folks, as long as you are courteous and respectful of other people and talking about horror. We'd love to have you in the Facebook group.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for chatting with me for the HWA Seattle Chapters blog. We appreciate it.
Thank you and HWA. I mean,
Yeah.
yes. You are the folks who are making it happen in a lot of places for a lot of writers. So it's fantastic to see. And being able to be neighbors at Crypticon was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's perfect.